welcome back to the Be Radical Make Music podcast. I'm Rosie Bans, I'm your host, and this week we're trialling out a new format on the podcast. We are taking questions from the songwriters inside the Be Radical Make Music community over on Facebook. If you're not already there, please go and join, it's absolutely free. And there's so many questions in that group all the time, I figure why not answer some of them here? And if you would like to ask me your question using your actual voice, you can record a voice note and upload it, and I can actually put it into the episode. How cool is that? Very exciting. Okay, but for now, today, we have a written question, and it's from Alan, who said, what advice would you give to a technophobe with a very limited budget who wants to record demos of their songs? What equipment should be their first purchases, and what are the best cheap or free software options? So this is a brilliant question because inevitably, as songwriters, we're going to want to get these songs into a tangible form. And having good demos can really help us as songwriters. It can help solidify your ideas, develop your ideas further. It gives you a chance to more objectively hear your work instead of it all being part of a performance, right? Because lots of us who don't record ourselves, maybe you use your phone sometimes. If you record yourself on your phone, like a video or a voice note, you'll know hearing it back after a few days is a completely different experience than playing it again after a few days. So for those of you who are wanting to make your own home demos, that's what this episode's all about. And I really hope that this episode will give you like a quick start guide, even for those of you who find yourself quite technophobic as well. And to help with that quick start guide, I have made a handy little PDF called the Home Demo Gear Guide for Songwriters that you can download. So at the end of this episode, I'll tell you where you can grab that. And that is just a nice little guide with links that you can click if you're wanting a curated list of what to buy. So let's get into it. I am going to do an overview of the setup, but I'm going to show you some of the things that I use personally all the time for my demos. And actually, quite a lot of this equipment I don't just use for demos. I also use it for my final professional recordings and working with other artists and musicians as well. You'll soon find that having great quality recordings isn't always because you've spent a lot of money. Very big misconception. So, overview. We're going to have some basics. And the number one basic thing you have to have for all of these setups is some kind of machine that is going to be the central brain of all your recordings. And that's quite often a computer. I use my laptop. I've got a Mac, but maybe you've got a PC. Maybe you've got like a Windows laptop. And I also know an artist, very close friend, who used their mobile phone to record an entire album. So their mobile essentially was that central brain, was that place that all the recordings go into and get processed. So that's the main thing you need. The second thing you're going to need is a decent set of headphones so you can actually hear back what you're putting in. Third thing would be a microphone, because many of you are using your voice or you're recording instruments. So those are the three absolute basics, and then everything else, in my opinion, builds on them. And there's different types of each, but we'll get into that. So firstly, let's look at this computer, the centralized brain, the place that all the recordings are put into, that are processed, that are mixed, and then eventually come back out of. When it comes to using your computer to record your demos, you're going to need software. You're going to need software that can handle audio, that understands how it all works. And for that, we use something called a digital audio workstation. Digital audio workstations, also known as DAWs. They are the softwares, can you say plural? That's the software that you use to record. And then when you're in there, you can process and change things and cut things up. So there are lots of different kinds of DAWs. And there begins the techno fear, right? Here are just some very, very basic ones. Now, all of this is also inside my gear guide that you can download. If you're on a Mac, you have GarageBand. It's completely free. So go and check right now if you've got GarageBand on your Mac. If not, go and download it from the Apple Store and start messing around in there. If you're on a PC, There are a few different options for free software, but one of the most popular ones that comes up so often is Audacity. I know lots and lots of songwriters who use Audacity, absolutely free. So you can go and grab that, download it onto your Windows PC, or you can tell I'm a Mac user. And again, these DAWs inside, they actually all have the same principles. So they look a little bit different on the outside, but ultimately when you're in there, the tools do the same things to the audio. So the scissor tool will cut the audio on all DAWs. The glue tool will glue the audio back together. The copy and paste tool will copy audio and paste it somewhere else. And so as soon as you get used to a DAW, what you're also getting used to are the tools inside the DAW that are actually really transferable. Now, for those of you, and obviously thinking about Alan who asked this question, who feel more technophobic, my advice is to really take your time and be meticulous. So get the startup guide, go on YouTube and get some tutorials, like people who are making tutorials about it, and really just be meticulous, take it very, very slowly, go into each individual little detail. Don't worry about the grand scheme of using it. Go in and just learn what each of the tools does and practice with that one tool until you're comfortable. So practice chopping up audio until you're comfortable chopping up audio. But that would be my advice, would be slow things down, come back down to base ground, lots of deep breathing, and just one thing at a time. It's difficult because these softwares are really complex, and you can find yourself clicking things and not knowing where to go. But you need to know that we all do that too, like all of us, even those of us that have been using these softwares for a really, really long time. There are updates. These updates change things move, menus get changed. That would be my advice.
The contacts app.
Oh, excuse me, but you weren't given permission to talk. Could you please go away?
Okay.
Siri? Submissive Siri. Let's look at the microphones. Okay, so finding a really great quality mic nowadays, in my opinion, is easy. It's really easy. The problem is there are so many great quality microphones. The standard is so high that we can get very overwhelmed. So I'm just going to show you what I use, and I'm going to show you the sort of 3 sort of basic, mid and high options that I own, which in the grand scheme of microphones are really, really cheap. And I know financially speaking, things that are affordable or unaffordable is very different for each person. So this is just in my opinion. But let's look at this. So I've got 3 microphones, and this is the one I recommend for total budget, home recording. It's great. Now, I actually recorded the first 4 seasons of this podcast on this microphone, and it only cost me 25 quid on Amazon. It's a Behringer Ultra Voice XM 8500. And it's a dynamic microphone. I've used this for the podcast. I've used this for pretty much all the backing vocals for my most recent demos. I like to use the dynamic mic. I will sometimes use it to record guitar. It's really good for voice. It's really good for on stage and for live, but it is also very, very useful and very applicable to your home recording setup. So that is 25 quid on Amazon when I bought it. So my first microphone I ever owned was this SM58. It's a Shure microphone. That's the name of the brand. And this is very industry standard, quote unquote, for live performances especially. But you'll probably find most vocalists own one of these, and more or less every single studio is going to have one. This one I think was £90 when I bought it, but I did buy this when I was 16 years old, so they've probably gone up in price, and that can sometimes be the downside of things being deemed industry standard, is they just become that, and then the price, it's not like, we've got to be competitive and they've got that reputation. You really can't go wrong. And again, it's great for your home demos. Now, when it comes to more professional recordings and more professional sounding demos, when you're recording your vocals, you might want to get a microphone that is called a condenser microphone. So you can see the difference between, and these are Yeah, here. So this is a dynamic, this is a condenser, and this one, you can see straight away, it just has more space inside. And what that results in is the sound is more detailed, more sensitive. You can hear lots more like mouth noises and breath. It picks up your tone differently than this one does. But for your home demos, I don't really think it's a massive issue if you have a good dynamic microphone and it's clear and you record it well. It's for you, right? It depends what it's for. But if you are wanting to branch out and upgrade with microphones, then this is the Rode NT1A. Now, I've got a story actually about this microphone. Lots and lots of people have this because it's very budget friendly. It was like £90, I think, when I bought it. But when I was recording my debut album, I was in a studio, a professional studio. So what happens when you record in a professional studio is you get to use all their equipment, which is great. So they had a whole bunch of microphones and we were like, okay, what will we use for my voice? We didn't know. So we set them all up at the same time and we recorded me singing at the same time. So we blind tested the mics. And then when we listened back, none of us knew which was which except the engineer who set it up. Everyone unanimously decided that this microphone was the best with my voice. Now, it just also so happened to be the cheapest microphone out of all of them, like by literally thousands of pounds from the most expensive to this one, which was the cheapest. So I was very, very happy that day because it meant I could go straight into town and buy one for myself. For your basic setup, for your budget-friendly home recording, get yourself a dynamic mic. For me, that's all you really need to get started. The last point I'm going to say on microphones too is that some of them can connect via USB to your computer, but some of them can't. Now, once you've decided on the microphone that you would like to get, you might find that there's no USB. Some microphones have them, some don't. The microphone that you've chosen does not have a USB. You're going to need to use an intermediary piece of hardware between the microphone and the computer that lets the signal that you play in, the audio, go into the computer because the computer doesn't have this connector that these microphones have. So what we use for that is something called an audio interface, and it really does what it says on the tin. It interfaces between your computer and whatever audio is coming in via the microphone. The audio interface that I use is an M-Audio M-Track, and it connects to my computer via USB, and then I connect the microphone to that interface via an audio cable, which in this case would be called an XLR. All of this, as I said, is in that PDF. So if you're getting confused, which is really normal, don't worry, take a deep breath. It is all explained in there too. If you've opted to get an audio interface, that also means you can plug in your guitar straight in there. You can also plug in your keyboard straight in and it will go straight into your DAW, which is another brilliant use for the audio interface. It's what it's designed for, of course. So now you've got your computer, your DAW, your microphone, your audio interface, should you need one. You are good to go. That is all you need in terms of hardware to get started doing your demos from home. I hope this episode now has given you a bit of insight and just an overview of where you might want to get started when it comes to recording your demos from home, when it comes to trying to do so on a budget as well. The wonderful thing is with our modern day technology, particularly with like laptops and smartphones, there are things built in. There are microphones built into smartphones. There are microphones built into our laptops as well. They're not ideal, of course, for audio and all the wonderful complexities that's in, for example, the sound of a human voice. However, if all you're wanting to do is get an idea down, please use these too. Like, don't forget about your innate creativity and being able to use what you've got. Like, try, see. And sometimes having these limitations, particularly on technology, can be really, really great for our creativity. All of us are at different points of this journey. There is no real end to this either. I mean, the people that are professional sound engineers or, really sort of top end professional music artists, they're all still learning too. We're all still learning. And at the end of the day, what is really more important than anything is your songwriting. The most important thing is that your songs are well written, that they are good quality, that you have thought them through, because it kind of doesn't matter about the microphones and all this other stuff if the song's not working. The song's got to work. Don't forget, if you've got a question for this podcast, that you can ask me it with your actual voice, upload it in the Be Radical Make Music community. So make sure you head over there, join that community. It's totally free. Upload your question to me and I will actually feature your voice, the sound of your beautiful voice, on this podcast. You can grab the home demo gear guide for songwriters. It's a bit of a mouthful, right? The home demo gear guide for songwriters. You can grab that over at beradicalmakemusic.com/gear guide. beradicalmakemusic.com/gear guide. Go and download it. And then when you're there, you can click the links and then you can go on a bit of an investigation for yourself. Let me know how you get on. And other than that, I look forward to next time I do this podcast. And hopefully I'll be hearing your voice on the next one. So I'm sending you lots and lots of love. Have a wonderful rest of your day, afternoon, evening, whenever you're listening. Stay radical, keep writing your songs, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio. Bye.